but you want to hire correctly, right? You have very high growth goals, but you want to make sure that you're not over hiring, over indexing, hiring up, 5 marketers right off the bat and 10 account executives. Unfortunately, that's just something that we see as, and most likely is not going to work. I think using that to benefit, working alongside of AI, not against AI. Everyone thinks their product is better than the rest. Doesn't mean you're going to get someone for, $20,000, $30,000 less than what the market gives.
Welcome to The Growth Switch, the podcast where we dive into the strategies, struggles, and breakthroughs of bold business leaders. I'm your host, Jules Fox, the growth strategist and lead content creator at Aries Media. I'm here to uncover how today's top brands are scaling, overcoming challenges, and unlocking sustainable success. For those of you just tuning in, Aries Media helps grow successful brands with comprehensive hands-on support for sales, business development, and performance marketing. If you're interested in that, go ahead and drop growth into the comments and we will show you how. Now, today we are very fortunate. On The Growth Switch, we're joined by Lauren Stempel, the VP of Global Recruiting at Bets, where she leads high-impact hiring strategies for VC-backed SaaS companies, and she's helping reshape how go-to-market teams scale in a fast-changing talent landscape. Lauren, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so we're in a tricky time. I want to start with the hard stuff first. Okay. We're in a tricky time. This is like a rough moment for a lot of businesses. People can be really tight with their cash. Now, how do you think that the Bets model of doing business is going to get us through this tricky moment in the hiring landscape?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to that. I think at the end of the day, we see a lot of unknown. We hear the term unprecedented times a lot. And at the end of the day, having a recruiting partner is always going to be helpful to get the lens. We really see the first signs of a slowdown. We see the first signs of things picking up because we have a pulse on, our VC network, the clients that we work with, and then most importantly, the market of candidates. Why are people looking? Why aren't people looking? What they want to see in the market, what they're looking for in opportunities. And I think overall, regardless of what's going on in the economy, having growth is crucial in any organization. And what does growth mean? Is sales. And that's what we focus on. So it's, to answer, I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think, having a partner that's trusted to really have eyes and ears in the market to see all the trends and things like that, it will always be beneficial.
Yeah, having a growth partner to get you more sales and keep that business afloat kind of no matter what is a really great thing to have. So what's something that you guys are able to do that's unique to the market? Because there are other recruiting agencies out there, but you guys are very specialized. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we started in 2009. Our CEO, Carolyn Betts, really saw obviously the big trend of SaaS. And so we really specialize within SaaS go-to-market. And VC-backed companies, like you mentioned. We do work on some seed roles, found your first hires, your first leader, your first AE, up into pre and post IPO, but really kind of that sweet spot of Series A to C funding. And then also within the go-to-market, really specialized there. So sales, marketing, customer success, obviously including sales engineers. We're seeing a huge influx in revenue and marketing operations. I think those RevOps marketing ops used to be a nice to have, and now they're definitely a need to have for organizations. And yeah, sorry, did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's explore that a little bit further because you have this nice to have versus need to have. The landscape changes, the market need changes. And it looks like you guys have pivoted to help support people through that changing landscape.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think what we can really help companies, and especially on the early side, is they want to seek advice. The best, I think, leaders are always looking for outside perspectives, whether that's from their board, their VCs, and their recruiting partners. I think a leader that is just one-sided and this is the way things are going to go, I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I think having the most, open kind of dialogue with organizations, people, whatever that may be, is the best route in order to scale and to grow. So I think I love when leaders ask me, what are you seeing in the market? What are your recommendations for hiring? What are your recommendations for a founding AE? Or, hey, we're building out, we're really going up market here. We're really looking to build our enterprise funnel. How do we do that? And that's kind of where we can come in and help guide and really provide our value as a partner, not just a resume feeder. And so there's so many different trends that we're seeing. So that's something I'm sure we can touch upon too.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you guys blend agency and platform models to meet this specialized hiring need for SaaS companies, right?
Exactly right. So that's something that we've done. Obviously, we've seen all of the ups and downs that tech has had in the last 20 years. And so we have our traditional contingency model, where you see a lot of other recruiting agencies use that. And we realize that it can tend to be a little transactional. We really wanted to see a partnership and really want to see these companies scale and be a part of their journey, whether it's the founding, AE to get to their marketing, to their SDR and so on and so forth, or they're a larger organization and we really want to partner with their already established recruiting team in-house. So that's why we built our kind of RAS model, recruiting as a service. So that is an annual partnership fee, and that's unlimited hires. Obviously, it depends on what the needs are, but it's really helpful for organizations. It's a set cost, obviously, and then they want to grow a lot and they have that model as an option. And we've seen a lot of success with this, of course. It's great for the companies. It's great for us because we really get to be an arm of their organization, really understand the ins and outs of them and be able to hire entire sales teams for these companies.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly helpful because not only are they going to be replacement hires, and I think that most people, when they're thinking hires, are thinking, well, what if this doesn't work out? What if this person leaves? But a lot of these hires are growth-based hires as well. So bigger companies are going to need these hiring platforms because as they grow and they continue to do well, they're going to need a growth partner to help them put the right talent in place to help them continue that growth trajectory.
Exactly. And the internal organizations, internal recruiting teams can only do so much. They have so much on their plate already that we work with them. And I think that's a relief to hear from the internal recruiting because sometimes it could be who's going to get to the hire first. And this model makes it really more of a partnership where we're just all have the same mission to get you these great hires. And you're right. And then it offers an ability if people don't work out. Because unfortunately, we see that a lot, especially with early hires, especially with your sales development, business development teams that are more, fresh, you can say, out of college or just, a year or two of sales experience under their belt.
Yeah. Yeah. So for these people, a lot of times they are thinking in terms of what's worked in the past, and they may not be looking forward to the future or certain trends that we're going through right now. So what are some of these trends that you're seeing in 2025, the hiring trends that you think that most companies are still underestimating?
Yeah, I think hiring trends, definitely what we're seeing is obviously the use of AI. I think using that to benefit working alongside of AI, not against AI, is very, very helpful. Using the tools for just, strategic outreach, for follow-ups, for organizations, for scheduling, all of those kind of tedious things helps in that sense. In regards to trends and hiring, something that we're seeing a lot more of is being more verticalized. So that being a company is looking for, or already in manufacturing SaaS, let's say, having someone with a background in that, who really knows the ICP, really knows the industry, knows how to talk to those buyers, for example, or like a healthcare really knows who to talk to at a hospital, who's going to be using your software. So seeing that verticalization is something that we're really is a big trend. Also within the platform sales, where it's kind of an all-encompassing software platform sell. With that, it's the multi-threaded approach. So you are speaking to multiple buyers and having our salespeople already being able to understand that, because there's so much more complexity to it than just a simple, here's our tool, kind of not a one call close, but essentially it's a little bit easier. So that's another trend that we're seeing as someone who's really a little knows all the different people who need to be kind of give the okay to make that buying power.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these companies are focused on one particular thing. I need this for my company, but it also needs to be equitable. It needs to be fair. And I think that there is more attention being paid to how are we going to service that need? How are we going to get the best people to fit that need? So people are paying more attention to compensation guides and equity, and they want to get the right person. What is your approach to helping these companies get the right candidate and really negotiate this fairly so that they are getting the best talent and retaining the best talent, not getting them poached?
Absolutely. I think there's two sides, starting with getting the best talent. I think really knowing the market, having a pulse on it. Everyone thinks their product is better than the rest. Doesn't mean you're going to get someone for $20,000, $30,000 less than what the market gives or where that person's currently at. So I think having the expectations and being transparent from day one, that's something that, we always help with too. We can call out if candidates' expectations are a little bit higher than maybe what their background and experience may tell, and just say, hey, you're not going to be a fit for 90% of the organizations because, your expectations are a little bit high. Having that dialogue in the beginning so you don't go through the process, but also talking to a range of people, just a 2-3 years is a significant difference in compensation. So really understanding what you need to, do you really need someone who's going to be that enterprise, who's not going to need any handholding, who can get in the door? That person who's going to carry $1 million quota, you're paying them $15,000, $20,000, more than maybe you budgeted, is going to really pay out in the end. As they're going to bring that revenue to your organization. Someone who is a little bit less, who may need a little bit more hand holding, you have a manager who is ready to do it. That's the route to go. So I think just being really upfront about the expectations and having a range, not having a hard and fast number, being flexible to some extent, of course. And I think equity really goes without saying. People want to be a part of an organization and want to feel that they really have, they're a stake in it, that they really have value in the organization, want to see the longevity of it. That helps with tenure, of course, that they, have a piece of the pie, so to speak. And then when it comes to retaining the talent, I think that is one of the hardest things. I think we saw the last couple of years a lot of job hoppiness. People were leaving for 5 or 10K more. That has kind of gone away because it's just a lot of flags when you see the consistent hoppiness. But ultimately, I think there's a lot. I think the culture is always important. That's not going anywhere. Whether you're remote or you're in office, super important to have culture. Understanding what that looks like throughout the interview process, being very transparent about it. If you want 5 days a week, don't tell a candidate you're hybrid, right? You want those little things, but all the perks that you may have. And then the ability to grow. I think in sales jobs, there's not that many promotion paths, at an organization. Of course, you can go up market as the organization does. So talking about that, what are, can you go higher in your average deal sizes and cycles? Is that something that's applicable to a candidate? After 2 years, more equity, or you have different, milestones to hit of revenue you've brought to the organization. Same goes with marketers, right? What are little milestones that if someone can have the opportunity to get more equity? What's an opportunity for them to have a team under them if after they've done, X amount within like a demand gen funnel or things like that? I think being creative and having that throughout someone's time will really help with the tenure.
Yeah. And when you put it that way, I think that anybody tuning in, any hiring managers at various companies can see the incredible value in having a real partner who's going to look over every element of that. You may look on paper and literally be hiring from paper and say, hey, this person is a great fit for our company, but is our company a great fit for this person? Or is our culture a good fit for this person? Do they fit in with the culture? And there are so many variables to consider that this is a really big deal that people really do need help with.
Exactly. And I think within the interview process, that's it's so important. I think some companies, it's, what do you do? Tell me your story. Tell me this, this, and this. But there's, you want to get to know each candidate as well. I think the candidates want to be sold as well. Tell them about your organization. What's culture? What's growth look like? I think that's important. But also, what are your values? Every company, usually has values, a mission statement, things like that. Does that align with this candidate? How do you go a little bit deeper into that? Because there's so much more than just a strong sales organization or salesperson, or I guess not just sales, any type of candidate. There's more to it, and culture is going to be important to most people.
Yeah. Yeah. And, surely you see some metrics, you're talking about how if you're going to grow, if you do want to make more sales, if you do want to drive revenue, you need the right hires to fill those positions. Do you guys focus on those metrics as well?
We do. So we have our own kind of metrics and reporting that we give our clients. Hey, are we on track of what you want to see? How many people interviewing at any given time to make a successful hire? So we have that guideline throughout our process for the clients. They usually have their own too, depending on the size of the company. So it just depends, but usually, and you want to work backwards from a time. We never really work on searches that they're like, hey, I need this person in 6 months. Like, that's just really not going to work. You want someone who's ready to start now. You can always build a relationship and people can come back. But really, if they're on the market and they're looking or you're having a conversation, you want to make sure that there's an actual open position and not look down the line.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Okay, so now let's flip this a little bit because we've talked about growing other companies. How do you focus on growth for your own company? What are some of the strategies that you use to continue to find good clients who are a good fit for your company?
Yeah, I think I have to give a shout out to our marketing team. They've done such a great job. We have really strong collateral that people are always interested in. We have our equity guides, we have our compensation guides, we have different tools of how to interview, how to hire a first sales person, things like that, that people find really valuable just from that. So they can see, the value we will add as an organization. So we've gotten a lot of clients that way. I would say a really strong way for us to get our clients is through our VC networks and their portfolio companies. So we're very close to the VCs that we work with, a lot of data back and forth of what we're seeing, the growth for them as well, suggestions, and kind of always brainstorming, when they have new portfolio companies, things like that. And then referrals, really, really strong referral basis for our clients that, they always are recommending other CEOs or other founders in the space to work with us. So that's something that we really see as helpful. And just having a pulse on the space is with anything within SaaS, who's getting new funding, what's the growth, and, all of those, plenty of outlets to understand kind of new companies that are coming about. And we also hear that from our clients directly too. It's like, hey, have you heard about this company? They're doing this. Or I'd love to see a salesperson from X, Y, and Z. And then, we'll use that accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you continue to do great work over time, I think it's just a natural thing that people actually want to help their friends solve their problems. So you do get those good referrals.
Exactly. And we'll see too, we do work on executive searches and leadership searches where we'll work with different leaders. And let's say we don't place them at a VP of sales role. They're now got another role as a VP of sales. They need to hire their sales team and they'll use us. So it's many, many ways. It's very fluid and it's nice because it's not very cold all the time. It's usually warm relationships.
Yeah. And it's very much a virtuous cycle is continuing to give people on both sides a good experience because, giving those candidates whom you're putting in those positions a good experience, even if the hire didn't work out, if it didn't, for them to recommend you and look to you as a solutions provider as they need help themselves.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That's
the best.
Yeah. Now this sounds fantastic, and this is the ideal state for anybody watching, for any viewers right now. This is where you want to be. Now, as far as any problems hindering growth, say you could come in, say you could just pop something in AI and say, hey, I want to solve this one problem with our growth. What would you see yourself improving to watch the company grow 2-fold, 5-fold, 10-fold over the next few years?
I think there's a lot of things to be said within the growth. I think, obviously everyone wants to grow as fast as possible, but you want to hire correctly, right? You have very high growth goals, but you want to make sure that you're not over hiring, over indexing, hiring up, 5 marketers right off the bat and 10 account executives. Unfortunately, that's just something that we see as it most likely is not going to work. It's better to hire, a really strong, smaller team of people and then grow from there than just putting some butts in seats, so to speak, is definitely the recommendation there. I think you're seeing a lot more people do more with less. I know it's harder, but that's just kind of the trend that we're seeing after, the great rehire after COVID, where I think companies just hired too much too fast. Mm-hmm. So people are being a little bit more cautious of that, but with the growth, but then, at the same time, if you're between 2 amazing candidates and you can't decide, you're both. 2's not going to make a big difference. 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, that's fine. But when you get to the multiples of that, where you don't even know, that's where, you want to be very cautious too for that growth.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a golden piece of advice.
Yeah. You can still do more with less, but obviously, you can't have that burnout too. It's a fine line.
Yeah. Sometimes you can do more with more. Sometimes the best offense is a good offense,
Exactly. As simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast and really lovely to speak with you.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you.